Coalition Against Trafficking in Women is the world's first organization to fight human trafficking internationally. The organization was founded in 1988 and since then has spread to all major regions over the world. The coalition advocated and launched the new definition of trafficking through the new UN Transnational Crime Convention's protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, especially in women and children. Coalition Against Trafficking in Women is a non-governmental organization which was organized by several American feminist groups, including Women Against Pornography and Whisper. The coalition continuously fights the enormous and powerful sex industry, which displays prostitution as a sexual liberation rather than sexual exploitation. Coalition Against Trafficking in Women is an organization that subscribes to a low-risk activism. This means that it uses tactics that typically do not disrupt the public or otherwise lead to disobedience. Rather, the organization pursues objectives by fundraising to provide safe houses and other purchases for the victims. The coalition advocates for strong laws and policies on local, national, and international levels to prevent women and girls from becoming victims of human sex trafficking. Coalition Against Trafficking in Women supports the Nordic model, which was the world's first model to recognize prostitution as violence against women and a violation of human rights. Coalition Against Trafficking in Women has many goals, such as creating the cultural, political, and legal conditions where human trafficking is no longer tolerated. They plan to create a shift engagement towards the greater public understanding that prostituted women and girls are not criminals, but are the most exploited out of all of us. During class, many of us shared our experiences and spoke about our feelings regarding catcalling. Catcalling is something that victims of prostitution and sex trafficking must endure every day. When the women are standing at the corner, they often get catcalled from cars from men and are forced to have sex with them or do other sexually related things. In class, we talked about how catcalling is objectification of women. Prostitution proves this because the man just catcalls at the woman and uses them as just a sexual object. We also saw the connections between stereotypes of women that we talked about in class and prostitution in this project. So we decided to ask a few of our friends what came to mind whenever they heard the word prostitution versus the word women's sex trafficking. What are some words that come to mind to you whenever I say prostitution?
Whore, hooker.
Okay, now what word comes to mind whenever I say a woman's sex trafficked?
Slave.
To mind whenever you think of a prostitute?
STDs and money.
Okay, what comes to mind whenever you hear that a woman has been involved in human sex trafficking?
That it's really, really sad, and that's all I think.
What do you think a prostitute looks like?
Sloppy and barely any clothes on.
Why do you think she looks like that?
Because she needs to look appealing for dudes to come and do that.
Okay, what do you think a woman who's been sex trafficked looks like?
Like a drug addict or like addicted to some type of drug.
Why do you think she looks like that?
Because in like order for a woman to be sex trafficked, like the person doing that needs to get them addicted to some type of drug to make them dependent and want to come back.
I also decided to look up some stats about women and sex trafficking, and we went on this website called thegoverninghouse.org, which is another organization, and found some pretty interesting finds. Human trafficking generates $9.5 billion yearly in the United States alone. Approximately 300,000 children are at risk of being prostituted in the United States. The average age of entry into prostitution for a child victim in the United States is 13 to 14 years old. And a pimp can also make $150,000 to $200,000 per child each year, and the average pimp has 4 to 6 girls. The average victim may be forced to have sex up to 20 to 48 times in one day. Fewer than 100 beds are available in the United States for underage victims. The Department of Justice has been identified top 20 human trafficking jurisdictions in the county: Houston, El Paso, LA, Atlanta, Chicago, Charlotte, Miami, Las Vegas, New York, Long Island, New Orleans, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Phoenix, Richmond,
San Diego, San Francisco, St. Louis, Seattle, and Tampa.
A pimp can make $150,000 to $200,000 per child each year, and the average pimp has 4 to 6 girls.
1 in 3 girls on the street will be lured toward prostitution within 48 hours of leaving their home. Coalition Against Trafficking in Women also supports the survivors of prostitution. They partner with several people that are multi-level services, financial aid, emergency healthcare, psychological support, housing, legal advocacy for victims of the sex trafficking. They also help create and support employment for these women and children who have been sexually exploited.